For the second session of Covering Rare Diseases Day 5, the goal is to prepare all 25 of the journalists who've participated for covering Rare Disease Day 2024, which coincidentally occurs during a so-called leap year. So that's February 29th of next year. Our next two speakers will build on the wealth of information and potential story ideas we've developed so far. Lisa Sarfaty is the Vice President for Community Engagement with the National Organization for Rare Disorders. She's responsible for strengthening NORD's ties to the community and fostering engagement with individuals living with rare disease and their families, for advocates, and for patient organizations. She oversees and aligns the organization's community outreach and engagement programs here in the U.S. and abroad, working closely with global partners on advocacy, education, and capacity building. And next, Lindsey Smith is the Director of Engagement at Osmosis for Elsevier, which is a global information analytics company that helps institutions and professionals progress science, advance healthcare, and improve performance. Lindsey oversees the customer experience and engagement teams at Elsevier, and she's here today to tell us about a marvelous resource to help journalists prepare for covering Rare Disease Day 2024. It's the Osmosis Year of the Zebra initiative, which she'll tell you all about. Lisa and Lindsey, thank you both so much for joining us. And Lisa, why don't you get started by sharing your presentation with us?
Happy to. Thank you so much. I'm just going to split up. Good morning, and thank you so much for having me here with you today. I know you've had a wonderful week, and I'm glad to hopefully add to that. As Rachel mentioned, I'm with the National Organization for Rare Disorders, and she did a wonderful job covering my professional role at NORD. So I'll just share a quick bit with you about my personal connection with rare disease and why campaigns like Rare Disease Day are so important to me. When I joined NORD in 2011, I had no idea that rare diseases existed as a concept, as a group of health conditions, despite being born with one and having a condition called congenital or neonatal lupus, which at the time was about 1 in 120,000 live births. And my parents went through the very difficult diagnostic odyssey from the time I was born premature. And it lasted all throughout my childhood of just lots of unknown answers as to what the prognosis was, what might come later. We also grew up in a family where my paternal grandmother had narcolepsy, which is also very rare. And oftentimes people refer to that as the sleepy disorder. But narcolepsy is a real disorder. It's a real rare condition. And despite living with it most of her life, she never knew that there was an organization for her condition, resources for her condition. And so coming to NORD felt like very eye-opening for me as a patient, as someone who had no idea all the resources, the community that existed around this condition, around these conditions. And so it's been such a wonderful pivot for me in my life to have the opportunity to work in rare disease and support this community. So that's just a little bit about me personally. But let's talk Rare Disease Day. This is one of my favorite topics. I have worked on the Rare Disease Day campaign with NORD for going on 11 years now. And I work closely with our internal partners as well as our external partners and our global partners. So first, I want to talk to you a little bit about the global campaign, and then I will provide context and information about the US campaign. So what is Rare Disease Day? Hopefully everyone here throughout the course of the week has heard about Rare Disease Day, but in case you haven't, it is the annual global campaign to raise awareness of rare diseases and advocate for change for the 300 million people worldwide who are living with rare disease. It was started by Rare Diseases Europe, formerly known as the European Organization for Rare Disorders, or EURORDIS, back in 2008. They, at that time, selected the last day of February to host the campaign because it was the rarest day of the year, given that it changes every 4 years during leap years. So most years it'll be on the 28th, unless it's a leap year, in which case we observe it on the 29th of February. And Rare Disease Day has grown exponentially. So it started off, as I said, with one organization in Europe, and now there are more than 1,400 organizations around the world in 75 countries that are participating in this campaign. And NORD was one of the original organizations, along with Canada, the Canadian Organization for Rare Disorders, to make the campaign global. And so in 2009, we brought it to the US and they brought it to Canada. And that was the first step of this becoming an international campaign. And we are part of the Global Steering Committee. And in that capacity, we help establish the global theme for Rare Disease Day, to think through how we want to unite everyone under the campaign around the world, but then also what we want to achieve, how we want to see the campaign grow and evolve. And we're also the US sponsor. So that means that we take responsibility for leading a US campaign each year. And when we put together these global themes, we really try to consider a variety of things. So language, what translates, what doesn't translate, what are the issues and challenges that span across countries and geographic barriers? So what are the things that it doesn't matter where you are, these are the common foundations for rare disease patients that we can leverage, while also allowing each individual country and host to uniquely establish the campaign for themselves as well. So you have the ability to take advantage of the global resources and assets, but many countries also take initiative to determine what's unique to where we are, what do we need from a policy perspective, from an educational perspective. And they really, and I'll show you some examples, they really customize the campaign. So the global campaign theme that was established a few years ago that we are still using is equity. And when we think about equity in rare disease, we think about the fact that there are 300 million people worldwide that are estimated to live with a rare disease. And that's anywhere from 3.5 to 6.9 of the global population. It's not a small number of people. And they face these common challenges, as I mentioned. They are disproportionately affected by stigma and discrimination and social marginalization within their social environments, as well as society at large. They face huge inequities accessing diagnosis, care, treatments, and health systems that were designed for patients with common conditions. And they face everyday discrimination at work, in school, and in their social settings. When we think about equity, we really want to make the case for what would equity look like for rare disease patients when it comes to receiving a diagnosis, when it comes to having access to healthcare that is appropriate for them, affordable for them, accessible for them. What would it look like for them to have the ability to access work in an equitable way or school in an equitable way? So Eurordis, along with a group of volunteers, developed a toolkit called What is Equity for People Living with Rare Disease, and it's available on the rarediseaseday.org website, and it provides more information and resources, messaging, and just it's a common framework that everyone can use to talk about equity for the Rare Disease Day campaign. And in addition to pushing out messaging and a call to action around equity, they also have some signature events tied into the Rare Disease Day campaign. So two of those signature events are Show Your Colors and the Global Chain of Light. So hopefully you've seen this online, and we're doing a great job at pushing this out. But the Show Your Colors campaign is really about bringing people together to make this campaign visible. And the way that they do that is they provide tremendous amount of tools and resources for social media, for reporters, for organizations that have banners and posters and social media displays that people can use and overlays. And it's a great way, again, for someone who wants to just pick up the campaign and be able to run with it and then talk about their story. And that is really the call to action. When we talk about Show Your Colors, it's really talking about show why Rare Disease Day matters to you. What is your story? And it's not just limited to patients and families. it's really important that all stakeholders be talking about why rare diseases are so important. So we are encouraging everyone, medical professionals, researchers, companies who are developing treatments, to talk about why it's so important to raise awareness and educate people on rare diseases as part of the Rare Disease Day campaign. And the global chain of lights takes it to another level. And this is really about getting monuments, buildings, bridges, all lit up in the Rare Disease Day colors to create what we call this global chain of lights around the world. And many countries participate in this. It's volunteer-led. We have advocates year-round that are reaching out to get the Empire State Building and the Eiffel Tower and all these wonderful landmarks lit up, with the hope that it sparks the question of, why is this lit up in these colors? What is this about? And have people start to get curious and ask questions and learn more. And I just want to mention that next week, Eurordis will be launching the global campaign officially, and that means that they will be updating all of the resources, the information that they provide on their website. So stay tuned and take advantage of everything that they put out, because they do a tremendous job of pulling these resources and information together. And just to give you an idea, as I said, I mean, Rare Disease Day is celebrated in 75 countries around the world. We have Japan, we have Colombia, we have Iran. I really encourage you to go to the rarediseaseday.org website, where you can find what's happening near you. And if there isn't something, it just may not be listed. It doesn't mean that something may not be happening. But the rarediseaseday.org website is where all of the national partners go when we enter in our campaigns, our major events, information, so that everyone around the world has access to see what's happening. And all of the partners that participate in the campaign, all 1,400, are listed on the Rare Disease Day website. So you can search by country, you can search by name and find the partner, and then the link goes directly to their rare disease pages on their websites, which is terrific. But these events vary in terms of nature of topic. And so some events are really geared towards policymakers and trying to educate policymakers on the needs and challenges of rare disease patients. There are also health events. So they could be research symposiums talking about cutting edge research and what's happening at various institutions around the world, as well as medical education. So grand rounds and continuing medical education programs that really focus on how to diagnose rare diseases, where to find resources. And I know Osmosis will talk a lot about what they're doing regarding that in a little bit. So I wanted to share how we celebrate and recognize Rare Disease Day in the US and some of the things that we're focused on. And our campaign is really multifaceted. So at the national level, we are trying to make the general public aware that rare disease exists. As I mentioned, had one, had no idea, and still today that's the case for many people. And in order to create the progress that we need to bring 90% of rare diseases to having a treatment or even a cure, we need more people to become aware, and we need more people to join our cause. So we created the Show Your Stripes campaign, which I will dig a little bit deeper into in a moment. And that is our national awareness movement as part of Rare Disease Day. In addition to pushing out a national PSA and campaign, we also focus on advocacy. And so each year in January, NORD releases what we call our state policy report card. And this is a tool that we provide to advocates that talks about 12 key issues that are happening and where their states are in addressing the challenges and the needs of patients on those issues. So it's a wonderful, easy to navigate tool that patients can and families and advocates can pick up to learn what's happening in my state, where can my state do better, and then we provide calls to action and resources for them to either host advocacy events at their state capitals, in addition to just contacting their representatives to say, this is why this matters to me, we're looking for your support. In addition to the advocacy and the campaign, many stakeholders around the country host Rare Disease Day events. It's not just limited to NORD, and that's the wonderful thing about Rare Disease Day. So every year, the National Institutes of Health hosts a wonderful Rare Disease Day event in Washington, D.C. Surrounding that event is something called Rare Disease Week, and it's hosted by a group, and they do a wonderful job of bringing hundreds of advocates into the into Washington, D.C. to talk about rare diseases, and it's full of events that happen all week long. We have community awareness events that take place at the local level. So there are advocates who work really hard to host community resource fairs, and these are opportunities for patients and families, whether they are part of our community or not, to learn about rare disease and see who in their state is providing resources and information that can help them. They also host, as I said, events at academic medical centers. So almost all, if not all, of NORD's Rare Disease Centers of Excellence are hosting Rare Disease Day events. And again, they vary in terms of their focus, but most of them are open to the community to come in and learn about what these academic medical centers are doing, how they're supporting patients with rare disease, some of their innovative programs and services and research. And then we have many people who use this campaign to fundraise because, as I mentioned, 90% are still without a treatment. The only way to make progress is to help raise funds. And so there are campaigns like Zebra Hop, which is a new campaign, which is really focused on getting microbreweries around the country to brew a special beer in honor of Rare Disease Day to raise funds for research. So Rare Disease Day, while there is a global campaign and themes that get pushed out, it is really something that people around the country, around the world, can take and be creative with and determine how they want to get involved in Rare Disease Day, which means there's so much to cover because there's so many different activities happening, so many different themes throughout the month of February, and especially in the week leading up to Rare Disease Day. So just talking about the Show Your Stripes campaign, we launched this in 2019, and I'm sure you've heard or seen someone wearing zebra stripes this week, but the zebra is the mascot of the rare disease community. And we launched the Show Your Stripes campaign to really harness the energy and enthusiasm of the community behind this zebra concept because it is a way to bring attention to the invisible. And often rare diseases are invisible, and they're invisible to health ministries, to policymakers, to the general public. And so Show Your Stripes was a way to give the rare disease community our version of Go Red for Women or Light Up Blue for autism. And it's been a wonderful campaign that the community has really invested so much energy into making successful. They wear their stripes, whether it's zebra stripes or black and white stripes on Rare Disease Day. They share images online, and it's really powerful when you see companies of everybody wearing black and white stripes or zebra prints and events where everybody's doing this because it really shows solidarity among the rare disease community, and it really starts a conversation of why are all these people dressed like this. And so we are continuing to grow that campaign and really provide tools and resources to help people stripe out their schools, stripe out their businesses, stripe out their homes, and really help us make the rare disease community and our herd of zebras visible. So this is just a quick photo of what this looks like, and this is just a very brief sampling. There are hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of photos online of people coming together and showing their stripes for Rare Disease Day. So just to close, I wanted to share a little bit about Rare Disease Day and things for coverage. So when we look at the campaign this past year, you can see that the United States provides the vast majority of mentions around Rare Disease Day each year. That said, Rare Disease Day knows no boundaries, and it shouldn't. And we really want to see Rare Disease Day covered everywhere and as many places as possible. We use the Rare Disease Day hashtag. Countries will also have their own specific hashtags as they're talking about rare disease, and it's a way to see what's happening locally, what people are talking about. But year over year, the coverage is growing, and that's an amazing thing. And it really shows that we are having a louder voice and that people are paying attention and seeing the need to talk about rare disease. And I just, to put into context, Organizations launch awareness days because we need to improve public awareness, but it's also about building community and bringing people in, because when you bring people in, you're creating allies. And oftentimes, people who are diagnosed with a rare disease or suspect they have one don't know the term rare disease. So when they come across an article, when they come across a story, regardless of the hook, it's a lifeline for them to find that there is a community or there are resources or institutions that are doing things. And it can set them on a journey that they wouldn't have been on previously, and one where they can experience better health and outcomes. And they are experts, patients, families, patient organizations. They know more about rare disease and their specific diseases than anybody in some cases, not all, but in many cases. And I encourage everyone here to think about the organizations that exist globally and using them as an ally and a partner as part of your rare disease day coverage. They can help you understand what's happening locally, what some of the needs are, what the events are. They can suggest patients and families for you to reach out to and profile. And again, rare diseases are not so rare. They exist everywhere, but they are invisible. And so every article, every story, every mention that reaches policymakers or health ministries and any other stakeholders makes a difference. And I'll just close by saying that the task of rare disease is to help address the needs of the 300 million people worldwide. It is immense, and no one organization, nor your Roritas, no person, no journalist, can't do it alone. And so NORD's motto is that alone we are rare, together we are strong. And I leave you with that message for Rare Disease Day.
What a terrific message that is. Thank you so much for that. And now, Lindsey, please take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lisa. I loved hearing about how your personal and professional life have really intersect. We're getting our slides loaded here very quickly, but I am thrilled to be here today to speak with you all about Osmosis and what we're doing kind of in the rare disease space as well. NORD is one of our partners, and we are thrilled to be following them today and speaking about this. So we are getting our slides set up right now. There we go. Awesome. All right. So my name, as I mentioned, is Lindsey Smith. I'm the Director of Engagement at Osmosis. I oversee our customer experience and special initiative teams. I am based out of Denver, Colorado with my husband and 3 kids. You can see my 3 little ones on the screen, Olivia, Reed, and Maya, who also helped support Rare Disease Day in 2023. I've been at Osmosis for a little over 5 years, and prior to that, my background is in professional sports and partnerships. So again, just wanted to give a big shout out to Lisa and the NORD team. They are doing incredible work in the rare disease space, and I just really enjoyed hearing about their presentation. We're going to talk a little bit about Osmosis, and then we're going to dive into kind of why we're all here, Year of the Zebra. What does that mean? What did we do? And we'll kind of walk through our achievements and what we're still working on at Osmosis. So let's start with, what is Osmosis? So the idea of Osmosis began when Ryan and Shiv, our 2 co-founders, met as lab partners at medical school at Johns Hopkins. They realized that outside the classroom, there was a better way to learn medicine and more effectively so that they can retain it a little bit easier. Much to the dismay of their parents, they dropped out of medical school and formed what we know today as Osmosis. At Osmosis's core, we're the leading medical and health education platform with an audience of over 3 million current and future healthcare clinicians and caregivers. In 2021, we did get acquired by Elsevier, who is the world's leading scientific publisher and data analytics company. I'm happy to report that Shiv, one of our co-founders, is now back at medical school in his 3rd year at Johns Hopkins, currently in rotations, which is why he couldn't be here today. So Osmosis' biggest strength is taking really complex material and breaking it down into bite-sized, easily digestible videos. And so you can kind of see on this screen right here, we're just kind of showing you how we take that concept, all these really, difficult to comprehend medical concepts, and really kind of break it down for our medical students so that they can really digest this material, as well as just your normal caregivers and patients around the world. Here are some of the features I'd love to kind of point out within the platform that we do have. You'll see our, what we're kind of known for is that whiteboard style video animation. They're engaging videos. We've got great illustrations. We also have some clinical decision-making trees, and then those LinkedIn board style assessment items, just to really kind of reinforce that content. Osmosis supports not only students and all medical professionals, but we also work really closely with medical schools. So we work with over 200 medical schools. We plug into their curricular alignment, and we have some really great functionality for faculty specifically to really identify where medical students struggling potentially, at a very early stage in real time. So to recap Osmosis, we were founded in 2015. We got acquired by Elsevier in 2021. And at our core, we are a medical education platform. So where do zebras come into all of this? That is a great question. That's really kind of why we're all here. The zebra whole concept came from our co-founder, Shiv, who, really, was taught in medical school, when you hear hoofbeats, think horses, not zebras. And this way of thinking really means that think of the most common diagnosis and not the rare disorders or rare diseases conditions. We'd like to play a quick video for you explaining our Year of the Zebra initiative and our launch. Let's take a look.
In medical school, we're taught when you hear hoofbeats, think of horses, not zebras. Put another way, think of the most common condition, not the rare one. The advice is meant to avoid over-testing, though it didn't sit well for our founder for two reasons. First, it was dismissive of hundreds of millions of patients and their families who suffer from these rare diseases and have not had access to an equitable and inclusive healthcare system. Second, he was born in sub-Saharan Africa, where zebras are far more common than in the US, where the phrase was coined. So what exactly is a zebra in the context of medicine? It's a rare disorder, which is defined as affecting fewer than 200,000 people in the US, or less than 1 in 2,000 people in Europe. However, there are 7,000 zebra disorders, with new ones being discovered all the time, and they collectively affect more than 300 million people around the world, half of whom are children. These conditions range from adrenoleukodystrophy to Zellweger spectrum disorders. And given how little we know and teach about them, it takes about 4 to 9 years for patients to receive the correct diagnosis, during which time their condition can deteriorate. Zebras matter for a few very important reasons. First and foremost, if we truly want to build an inclusive and equitable healthcare system, we need to take care of our entire society, including patients who for centuries were dismissed by the medical establishment as anomalies. As Mahatma Gandhi once said, the true measure of any society can be found in how it treats its most vulnerable members. Second, these patients and their families are incredibly tenacious, dedicated, and resourceful, and serve as models for highly engaged patients. For example, Dr. David Feigenbaum helped find an effective drug for his own battle with Castleman disease. And John Crowley led the development of a therapy for Pompe disease after 2 of his children developed the condition. Third, research on rare disorders has advanced the science and led to the discovery of treatments that have saved millions of lives. For example, research on the rare disorder familial hypercholesterolemia helped pave the way for the development of statins, which are now used by more than 200 million people for their cardiovascular health. Similarly, tocilizumab is a drug developed for the rare disorder Castleman disease that has been used to treat many patients with severe COVID-19. On this point, 2023 is the 40th anniversary of the Orphan Drug Act, or ODA, which helped catalyze the development of hundreds of treatments and therapies for rare disorders, over half of which were approved in the last decade. Given how important rare disorders are, we're excited to name 2023 the Year of the Zebra, and launch an ambitious effort to educate millions of patients, family members, healthcare professionals, researchers, students, and the general public about these zebras. The Year of the Zebra will raise significant global awareness of rare diseases, which will help patients and their family members understand their diagnoses and find both healthcare and hope, train current and future healthcare workers to spot these zebras earlier to reduce the diagnostic odyssey that rare disease patients go through, inspire researchers and healthcare professionals to dedicate their careers to finding cures and providing care to the rare disease community, and motivate the general public to get involved by donating time, money, and other resources to specific rare disease groups, or the community as a whole.
Awesome. So we hope you enjoyed that video. That was the video that we launched with at the start of our Year of the Zebra campaign. And we did a big push on Rare Disease Day. And so you can kind of see here, we did receive incredible feedback, receiving mentions in the press and support from various individuals worldwide. Our colleagues, teammates, and even the CEO of YouTube posted about Year of the Zebra campaign in conjunction with Rare Disease Day this year. I'll pause here so you can see how a lot of our colleagues and other supporters were showing their stripes. The primary goal of this campaign was to significantly increase awareness surrounding these zebra conditions among our audience, who are future healthcare providers, with the ultimate objective of improving patient outcomes. What truly took us by surprise was the profound impact we had not only within the medical community, but among the general public. And you can see here on some of these comments that we have here from just, people living with these conditions on a regular basis and being able to finally explain their condition to their loved ones and family and friends. Here's a few more quotes that we've received on our YouTube channel that we'll get to in just a little bit further on. So what did we do for Year of the Zebra? And I'll start with kind of our big three initiatives that we launched. So the first one is our virtual newsletter. And this is where we dedicated one zebra newsletter per week, where we spotlighted one zebra condition. We provided a blurb on what is this condition. We included one of our Osmosis videos breaking down the concept. And then also, where do you go to find out additional information? Is there an organization we can kind of point you to? And then a patient story. This was distributed out to over 600 medical and nursing students globally. The second thing we did was we launched RARE, an open research in rare disease, which is an open access international journal that aims to have clinical impact on rare disease patients. It publishes peer-reviewed articles on research that improves the well-being and quality of life of patients with rare diseases, diagnosed or undiagnosed, and their families. The third thing that we launched was our Rare Disease Hub, which is one of the largest around the world. On this hub, we kind of think of it as our one-stop shop that really kind of pulls in all of our resources. So you can find resources, you can find linked content, you can find our videos, and we encourage you to check all of these out. So to date, we have released 300 plus rare disease videos and created over 47 Year of the Zebra videos, accumulating to 4.6 million views on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is recognized as one of the highest ranking medical education video platforms on YouTube. We also extended our reach with our Raise the Line podcast, which is hosted by Shiv and Michael Carisi, where they talk to top experts in the field on medical education, policy, healthcare, technology. And we've released over 25 of these specifically on rare disease. The impact of the Year of the Zebra goes far beyond the statistics for us. Once we launched, we realized just how many internal teammates and colleagues were affected by rare diseases within Osmosis, Elsevier, and our parent company, Relics. As the Year of the Zebra has gained momentum, it has served as a poignant reminder that even the rarest conditions deserve our attention and consideration, and it's become more personal to us. We also participated in World Blood Donor Day, had a zebra coloring and naming contest this year, and stepped into the STEP Challenge for rare disease charity. Probably my most favorite initiative that we launched with the Year of the Zebra campaign is our I Know a Zebra and I Am a Zebra video testimonial campaign. And that's really I Am a Zebra, I am someone living with a rare disease, or I know a zebra, I know someone that is living with a rare disease video campaign. We were able to reach many individuals through this campaign, individuals like Jennifer, who share her story about her son, Dawson, who was recently diagnosed in January with Chopra-Emile-Gordon syndrome, also known as CAGS. We're going to take a look real quickly on Jennifer's story here, and then we can do a quick recap.
I know a zebra. The zebra condition is ANKRD17 related neurodevelopmental syndrome, or CAGS for short. My zebra also has epilepsy with ESES. ESES is electrical status epilepticus during slow wave sleep. It's also referred to as CSWS for continuous spike waves during sleep. Individuals with CAGS have risk to develop certain symptoms such as intellectual disability, autism, behavioral difficulties, small stature, failure to thrive, epilepsy, abnormal EEG. They have a predisposition for recurrent infections, abnormalities of the eye, gait balance disturbances, and joint hypermobility. My son is my zebra. He was a typical 6-year-old when he had his first tonic-clonic. It took just over a year to get the diagnosis of CAGS. It was found during the WES, which is a whole exome sequencing genetics test, and that's how we figured out what was going on. We didn't realize the severity of what was happening until the seizure started. Prior to my son's diagnosis, I had never heard of ANKRD, neurodevelopmental syndrome, CAGS, epilepsy with ESES. CAGS is fairly new within the last couple of years, so I don't think a lot of people know about it or would know about it. I want to raise awareness for CAGS. It's a new genetic syndrome. So while we're ultra rare right now, less than probably 50, 75 patients globally, there are many more out there likely. And so I would encourage anyone who is still looking for the answers to get the genome testing. New mutations and syndromes are being discovered at a lightning speed. If we can work with researchers, use new tools that are emerging with AI, we can help to find cures or therapies to help with the symptoms that these kiddos are experiencing. It matters to me personally because I actually work for a Relics company. And until my son's diagnosis, I didn't fully understand the breadth of our products and how much the company is doing to find a cure. When I saw the Year of the Zebra and the work that Osmosis is doing to raise awareness for rare, I was really excited to be a part of that. I want to take something that has been life-changing for our family and try to help the best that I can with awareness. I think we're on the brink of really making some profound medical improvements.
To learn more, visit www.osmosis.org/zebra.
We truly thank Jennifer and others for sharing their story. Today, there is no clear treatment for Dawson. However, they are receiving top care from Dr. Chopra, who co-discovered this rare disease. Countless individuals expressed that for the first time, they were able to explain their rare disease condition to their family and loved ones from our videos that we've created. On average, it takes an estimated 4 to 9 years to get a proper diagnosis for these rare disease patients. However, Dawson was one of the rare ones who received a diagnosis within 1 year. So what is next for Year of the Zebra, and how can you help support us? So First of all, just a few quick takeaways for the Year of the Zebra campaign. We would love for you to subscribe to our weekly newsletter, check out our Rare Disease Hub, and explore more about Rare, the open access journal. And we'll be sure to include all these links in the chat functionality following this presentation. The second thing that we would love your help in doing is really helping us amplify these stories. So you as journalists, do you have the power to help kind of spread these incredible stories of these zebras? And we encourage you to do that. However, we can be helpful if it's introducing, you to patients, or if it's using some of our content to help tell the story. We're happy to support you in any way that we possibly can. In the coming months and years, medical professionals and researchers alike are encouraged to remember that the distinction between horses and zebras is not always clear-cut. Every patient's journey is unique, and every condition, no matter how rare, deserves the same level of diligence and care. By doing so, healthcare professionals can provide hope and support to countless individuals and families affected by rare disease, ensuring that they no longer feel like the forgotten outliers in the world of medicine. So the next time medical professionals hear hoofbeats, we truly hope they'll consider both zebras and horses, for in what that distinction lies the potential to transform lives and rewrite the stories of rare diseases. In closing, I want to thank the entire Year of the Zebra team for all their hard work this year. We recognize that this work has only truly begun. Thank you to Rachel and the National Press Foundation for giving us this opportunity to highlight Year of the Zebra. Again, my name is Lindsey Smith. You can find me and my colleague Jamie Howard's contact information here, and we thank you again for having us.
Lindsey, I cannot help but note that you bring the same level of enthusiasm and energy and excitement to this that you probably brought in your career with sports. You made me want to go, yay, Osmosis. So thank you for that presentation. I think it was terrific. It's just what the journalists needed to help them think about planning their projects. So let me check it. Are there any questions? Do I see any Zoom hands? Well, I will ask a question then while I try to get this situation sorted out. Many of the journalists that are listening in and joining this fellowship this past week come from countries where resources are either scarce or non-existent. And so going into the newsroom and telling your editor you want to write about gene therapy or CRISPR or any of these things could be almost impossible. So I'd like to ask each of you to perhaps advise the journalists on ways in those kinds of settings that they can sort of get their editors on board with doing this. Lisa?
The first thing that comes to mind, and I don't know if this has already been covered this week, but one of the tools that we have found to be helpful, at least from the patient organization's perspective, is what's happening at the UN and at the WHO right now. And you may have heard that there was the first ever UN resolution that was passed on rare diseases just a few years ago. And that was an effort led by Rare Diseases International, or RDI. They are a wonderful resource for global organizations and reporters to tap into. And that resolution has provided an opportunity to talk about the fact that rare disease is now on the global stage and that no country can afford to not pay attention to what is in the UN resolution and what is being asked of member states that are participating. There's also a WHO resolution that's going to be coming forward in the coming year, hopefully. And I think that will also be another tool. There's also a global definition of rare disease that's being developed. I don't know if it's been published, but Rare Disease International would have that on their website if it has. Many countries don't have a definition of rare disease, and that becomes part of the challenge because while the US and Europe and others have established legislation that defines rare disease for ourselves, that's a challenge when you're going into countries where they don't recognize rare disease yet, and there is no definition to define prevalence. So how do we know this matters here? This is, again, where I think some of the patient organizations that are local and the groups that are local can help, because they will have messaging around prevalence. They will have messaging on some of these genetic conditions that also are sometimes rooted in, specific ethnicities, right? So I think that there's sometimes the ability to pull that through too. I'm sorry, I haven't had enough coffee this morning, but so the few things that come to mind for me are rare diseases are everywhere, right? It matters everywhere. But there are some global tools that you might be able to pick up and use as talking points to pull through if you're finding that your editors and the newsroom is not interested in this story. I don't know, Lindsey, if other things come to mind for you.
Yeah, no, that was a great answer, Lisa. I think in addition to all of the resources that Lisa mentioned, NORD is a great resource as well. So I'll mention that for her. They, really are the experts in the field. So I would recommend you checking out their website as well. It's very helpful. In addition to that, I think one area that we can be helpful in is really kind of breaking down what these rare diseases are in really kind of simple and engaging terms. So I would invite you to see what we have on the hub, and if we can help you explain the story. We also might have patient stories as well that kind of help reinforce what the patient experience is for those different patients, and from a caregiver standpoint as well. So there are resources out there. It is becoming more and more common, as Lisa mentioned. And, if there is something that you're trying to cover, feel free to reach out and we will help try to point you into the right direction. If we have any content on it, if we don't, we usually are pretty good about creating content on it pretty quickly. So definitely use us as resources as well.
I just would second that. I'm sorry, Rachel. I just want to share. I'm so bad at. I'm always wanting to share what other things are happening because I know what's happening at NORD, but I agree and would say that we have partnerships with many of the organizations that we work with globally. And so again, if you're running into roadblocks, you're not able to get through to someone, or you're looking for a story, we have over 2 million people that come to our website a month from around the world. And so we are often on the receiving end of families really globally that come to us with questions and needs and organizations. So we are also happy to be a resource to anyone at any time, whether it's Rare Disease Day or throughout the year.
I would like to issue a challenge to each and every one of you. Go back to your countries. Well, those of you in the US, you can stick around, but others, go back or log off and go into your newsrooms and find out, does your country have a specific designation or definition of rare disease? And if you do not, make that perhaps your project for next year's Rare Disease Day. Decide what it would take to get Vietnam, for example, to declare and designate a definition and what it would mean. Find a family to sort of be at the center of that discussion. I think that's a relatively easy way to do that. But I want to put another of our fellows on the spot here for a minute, and that's Taiwo Adabulu. He's from Nigeria. And he heard our speaker, Anna Greca of the Broad Institute, talk about her research in kidney disease. And she mentioned that a group, the Yoruba tribe, ethnic group in Nigeria, had a prevalence of a certain APOL1 or APOL1 kidney disease. I'm thinking, and I don't know if Taiwo is comfortable with me pitching this kind of an angle, but I'd like to run it by the two of you to see whether or not your resources or you could support him in this. And that is, he's a member of the Yoruba tribe, and he is wondering whether he should look into this. I mean, maybe try to be tested for this condition, find out whether he has it or any of his family members, and maybe produce a story. Taiwo, what do you think about that as a possibility?
Yes, it's a possibility. It's something that I'm pursuing at the moment because and actually linked me up with the Nigerian doctor, the researcher from Duke University, Dr. Peyemi Olaniyi. So he linked me up with the doctor, and we've spoken at length. So he sent me some materials that I need to read ahead of a Zoom meeting that we're supposed to have together, since we are from the same Yoruba region. So it's quite easy for us to speak, and he gives me some of the research work he has done on APOL1, inherited kidney disease. So I'm going to pursue that particular story because it's quite important to me and important to the two of us, Dr. Peyemi and I. I'm going to pursue that story.
Lindsey, so if he decides maybe to do this project, give us an idea as to how he could use some of these Year of the Zebra tools to augment the content that he produces.
Yeah, great question. I think our first step would just be to check and see, are we covering that rare disease, right? So that would be our first step. Do we have material? Oftentimes, if we don't have an actual video on it, we still will have other resources. So we might have QA pages on it. We might have notes on it. We might have other materials. So that would be the first step. Just let's see what we have. The second step is also to work across the board with our research team as well to see what open access journal articles do we have there? What research do we have in the space? And then the third piece that I would say, which I think just helps strengthen that story that you could potentially be writing is, let's get that personal connection. Let's bring that personal connection into the story as well. And let's get I am a zebra video on this specific zebra condition.
Well, yeah, before I go and ask Lisa to respond, I think what I was considering was if he puts together an entire package about just rare disease writ large, mentions his own journey, would the journalists in this call be able to maybe use a copyrighted video from Year of the Zebra as a part of the package that they share with their organization? Is that possible?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we do send this out through our newsletter and it's on our Osmosis platform, but it's also distributed publicly on YouTube. So yes, anyone has free range to use that once it's there. Yeah, no problem.
Lisa, what are your thoughts about how to build out a project like this?
I love the idea because I think it's multifaceted in terms of the interest of the story. And I think the personal, whether or not the diagnosis is there, I think you'll be able to showcase what the diagnostic journey was for you. How hard was it to get the testing? What was it like upon diagnosis? But I also think being able to profile other families too who have an established diagnosis. NORD also has rare disease reports. I don't know if that one is one of the reports that we have on our website, but we have one of the most comprehensive databases in rare disease, which, considering there's 7,000, it's not nearly what it needs to be yet. But I think like Osmosis and others, it's a lot to tackle, but we are working on it. So if there isn't a report for that disease, you can also let us know, because similar to Osmosis, we can try to develop one with an expert so that you have an established resource from a credible national organization on that condition. And I think it sounds wonderful, and NORD would be happy to help however we can in a story like that.
I'm going to put a couple of more fellows on the spot here before we let you two go. And I'd like to hear from Oleksandra Horchinska. She's joining us from the Ukraine. I'm wondering, in your proposal and why we selected you for this program is because you proposed writing about rare disease in wartime, in that setting. Have you had any or gained any inspiration from some of the conversations that we've had this past week?
Hi, everyone. I'm Alexandra. I'm from Kiev, Ukraine. I listened to all the speakers and it was very interesting, but a little bit different context. For example, when you talked about people in color and all these things that related to the maybe some difference with attention from doctors, and we have less this group of people in Ukraine, so this is not our context as in America, for example, but we have a lot of temporary displaced people, a lot of refugees who had to move abroad because of war, and among them are a lot of people with different diseases and with rare diseases yes, also. That is why they have lack of access to medicine, to doctors, to their usual life. I'd said because everything is changed for all the people, not all for people with the rare diseases, but for everyone. And this is my topic, and this topic that I chose for this article during this program to write about how these people with rare diseases live their lives in this during the full-scale war in Ukraine.
I suspect that both organizations will be very eager to support you. Lisa, what are some thoughts about the ways NORD could fuel her project?
A few things come to mind. I mean, I know when the news first broke, there was an effort amongst global organizations to pull together funding and resources. I know there is an organization in Ukraine for rare disease. I can share that information if it's not already available. But I would say that NORD is happy to help in identifying, again, the organizations that exist both in and around Ukraine that have been supporting patients and families that have been displaced, that are in need of what we call emergency relief funds, funds to help them as they try to navigate a myriad of things, access to treatments, access to medical services. So I would say that organizations like NORD, Eurordis, I think would be a great partner and organization to support you in that story as well, just given they're closer to home and what's happening in Europe. But we can identify both what is happening, what are the resources that are available, do people know that those resources are available to those families, what is missing, what is needed to help those families, and what efforts are still ongoing.
I'd like to ask Valeria Guzman, do you know if El Salvador has an official definition for rare disease?
Actually, I know some patients that are working in organizations towards getting policy on that. I'm not sure if they have made any advances, but what I take from the things that we have learned this week is that I've always used to cover this as some problems with access to health, but I never understood quite the thing about justice in health. So I think that's really important because it's not only that some of the population is poor or don't have any hospitals close. It's about the social conditions that don't allow this right, don't allow the health rights for them to happen. So I'm really thankful for that, and I'm gonna keep working closely on that. And I'm thankful for this opportunity, and thank you for the persons who have done the presentation before us.
I'd like to offer both Lisa and Lindsey a last chance to sort of make a takeaway statement for the journalists. Send them home with something to think about for next year. Lisa?
Oh, I was going to make Lindsey go first. I would say I have to channel Abby Myers, our founder at NORD, and she would never take no for an answer. And so I would just challenge you with that is no can't be the answer when it comes to covering rare diseases and Rare Disease Day. I think it's incredibly important, and organizations like ours are happy to help you figure out how to get a yes and turn that no into a yes and, so that there are future opportunities as well. And there are so many resources out there. It's so hard to cover in 20 minutes, but there are a lot of resources that exist that we can help point you to as you look for definitions or other data and resources. So please feel free to call on us.
Excellent. Lindsey?
Thanks, Rachel. I would just kind of reiterate what Lisa said. This has probably been one of the most impactful projects I've had the pleasure of working on. It's so meaningful, and you guys really do have the power with your pen and telling the story. These zebras need your help in telling the story, and that can't be stressed enough. I think Osmosis and our part on this is, we want medical professionals to think twice when they're in the actual exam room with patients. Is this a horse condition? Is this a zebra condition? And we're going to do our part in, bringing these rare disease cases to the forefront with the hope of improving patient outcomes. But we need your help to tell the story and to really highlight these voices of the zebras because they truly need it.
Lisa Sarfaty of NORD and Lindsey Smith of Osmosis, thank you both so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
And please, you both will be on speed dial for everybody on this call. So I hope you're prepared for that. So we'll see you soon. Thank you.